That's it. The blue bar is there to say we're live. Today is the 18th of May, 2018, Friday, the 18th of May. On the panel is Astral, Patricia, and special guest Martin Leakey. Flat Earth British. Hello there.
British, Martin speaking. Hi, guys.
Hi, Martin.
Hi, Astral. Hi, Patricia.
Hi, everyone.
Yes,
Hi, hello.
Mr. Convention Speaker.
Indeed, indeed. I am. Indeed. I am now officially a historical person.
Well done, Martin.
With Flat Earth is just rock.
I think, Martin, the day you were born, you were already an historical person.
Yeah, the night I was born was this huge, unbelievable thunderstorm. And the nurses said to my mother, "Oh my God, what's coming out?" Because it was apparently the worst thunderstorm for a long, long time, for years. And the hospital was crashing with thunder, and my mother could hear it while I was being born. So the first thing I would have heard when I entered this realm is crashing thunder and lightning. Maybe that's why I like it so much, and I'm attracted to things to do with it. Weirdly, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you like thunder?
I got a big thing about electric, yeah, which is why I think I studied this field. I've always been into electrics and the electric itself. I just got an attraction to it. What the hell is it? Concentrated white energy, spooky stuff. We don't even know what it is.
I've got a bit of a thing for this electric thing. Just before we went live, I told you I made a little video, but I didn't actually put it out. But I was a bit shocked at looking at these photographs, and you went, "Oh no, that's right." Explain a little bit about the electricity side of things, because I was thinking 1800s, and you were going, "No."
I can only summarize because it's a hell of a long story. Okay, you would have to follow the story from the beginning. But essentially, what's happened is I've been studying a series of atlases from 1733 called the Lead Atlases. They're authentic and they are very rare, and they cause trouble for whoever reads them because they give you the real history or aspects of the real history, because every bit of the history that's been presented to us is fake. It's a fake paradigm. None of it is true. Not an atom is true. So we tried to find out what's really happening, and when we dug, it seemed that in antiquity there was an overwhelming amount of churches, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, all on one street. And then we noticed the pattern of these towers didn't look exactly like church towers. There was something else going on with them. And then they were the towers were separated from these apparent church buildings. So we dug deeper, and I've theorized at that time, well, I think these are gathering energy, because the higher up you go, and the more amounts of electrostatic charge. Could they be energy gathering devices? I was just chucking it up there. Then I dug deeper because it started me off. And I found evidence in Russia for series of buildings and churches that have, in fact, got a lattice work through them of metal, which is not electric conductor for lightning. These things are machines. And then probably before that, a year before that, I noticed a key in the architecture. Like the architecture was speaking to me in a language that I couldn't understand, but it was there. And then when I pieced together this bit about the churches, I started to study the architecture of churches. Now, it took a change. Now, I'm starting to believe now that the 18th century is key to this whole story. I don't think it's the Renaissance 1500s period. I definitely think it's the 18th century, the 1700s. Now, what's going on is the whole realm is worshipping a demonic cult. It's an ISIS cult. And it's not like separate religions and cults in different countries, okay? They're all in the same superpower cult. The only ones outside of it is the Empire of Tartaria, okay, which is the entire continent of Russia, from the Balkans to China, okay, which is taken out of the history book. If you ask anybody in a general knowledge question, what is the biggest empire in history? They will say, well, the British Empire. What about Tartaria? Well, I haven't heard of that. But that is, in fact, the truth, okay? It was eradicated. These people were peaceful, okay? I think that it was eradicated. I think this is what Napoleon was really doing in 1812. Now, These words of that date, 1812, I probably mention in every vlog, because I believe 1811 through to 1812 are the pivotal moments in our history. Why? Because there was events. There were huge events. There was the New Madrid, Missouri event, which was large landmasses lifting up into the air, plummeting down, electrical arcing events caused by comets. Comet storms, not one comet, many comets. They came in close, they caused huge arcing. They came in from the west, they went across America, causing earthquakes, tsunamis, floods, the works, okay? Then they moved east over Europe. And you can read about Napoleon's invasion of Russia, Battle of Borodino. He gets to Moscow. Moscow is empty because the entire population has evacuated. So where have they gone? Well, this is a question, isn't it? So what was Napoleon doing? Well, he was fighting the Russians. But when you look into it, it seems that he may have been teamed up with the Russians and actually mopping up the rest of Tataria. Nothing in history is what you think. To get back to electricity now, these buildings, which you call churches, have been taken over by some institution. In that days, it was the Benedictine monks. But in a lot of literature that I've been reading, seems these monks were large, as in giants, okay, which might explain. Yeah, really. And the doors on cathedrals and these church buildings are humongous. Why would they build such great big doors when people are only this size? So I only presented it on my channel yesterday. This old pamphlet from the 18th century. I might be able to show you a little bit if I find it now, which will show you that they got Benedictine monks, which were the richest organization on earth at the time, richer than the Roman Catholics, and they are like giants. Okay, I'll show you a bit in a moment. It is unbelievable. So this ISIS cult, okay, it is pushing the globe.
Martin, by the way, where have you found all this? Where have you found all this?
Ancient text. I go through Gallica. I go through libraries of my own, like the Sloane Library or the Library of Ramses, or I go through so many. Johnson's library is quite good. So I go through different libraries and I dig and I look for earliest documents I can find to do with physics or science. So I always get, or usually get, late 1600s, but I got some early 1600s now, fortunately, or 18th century, 1700s. So what it will do first is the documents I can show you now will completely smash the paradigms of your history, because what it will show you is they were using advanced technology, as in electromagnetics. They're using magnets for the purpose of technology. And God knows what else they had, but I'll show you in a minute.
Just to link in with this, there's a question in the chat room by the Eye. He said, "Can you ask Martin what were they using this collected energy for?"
Okay. Now the church buildings, okay, they show that the towers outside are called buttresses, and they will go deep, or flying buttresses in bigger cathedrals' case, deep into the ground. So what we're thinking is that they're doing a couple of things. These church buildings, okay, they're pulling energy up from the ground because they all seem to be on ley line crossing points, which is why you will always find these churches built on reset after reset, or civilization after civilization, okay? You will always find this. So they do put churches on ley line crossing points, or vortices, or nodal points on the plane, okay? Places where the veil is thin, okay? Now you can see this with your own eyes. If you look at a church area, you can see vortices of wind around the church, crisp packets blowing. Okay, you will see this always around the church. Okay, now, so I think that they're drawing power up, and I think that they're drawing power out of the ether using the towers, which are always hollow. They use on each corner. You can see this all over London, every British city, every world city, actually, in their civic buildings. 4 columns on each corner, which are made of marble. Now, marble is crystalline by structure, and the buildings are made of stone, which comes out of the earth, which is always this white marble, crystalline by structure. So it augments vibration. So what we believe is these churches have all got cymatic pattern portal windows in the front of churches. Now, we believed originally they were just for aesthetics. They're pretty, aren't they, these stained glass windows? But oh no. because they show cymatic patterns, then obviously that they're giving a vibration of that particular frequency. Now, if you know about cymatics, if you put a charge through, say, some sand at a different frequency, it will change into a beautiful flower, and each sound has a different cymatic pattern, and each church window has a different cymatic pattern. So I believe they did different things. Now, if you do 534 or 432, which is another gigahertz frequency, I often listen to this music now. In fact, I've stopped listening to music, and I'm only listening to frequency music now. So we can have frequency reggae, so I'm lucky. But if it was emanated into the environment for the well-being, now this is another psyop, okay, permeated by Monty Python. Bring out your dead. So we all had plague, we were all stinking, we had open sewerage, and we were all stupid. The reality is we were cleverer than we are now, because we've gone backwards, and basically the mind control is so much more than then. We were healthy and the environment was blissful. Plants grew bigger and people lived longer. At this stage of the game, I'm wondering how much longer.
Can I ask you something then? So all the photographs they show, all the work clothes they're wearing are just absolute rubbish.
Right. The clothes are social paradigm introductions. Now, what I believe, right, is all fashions. You can watch the evolving of fashions. Now, this is the key here, which will tell you that this is what I'm saying is true. Right. Now, the film or the book, The Time Machine, okay, with again another social engineering, yeah. So in the beginning, they show you him looking in going back in time, and he's looking at a dressing shop window or a dressing mannequin, and he's watching as he's going through time the changing fashions. Now, in that book, it states that the skirts go shorter, and then they go up to the 1960s, and the women's skirts are mini skirts. Now, how could they possibly know that in 1898? Unless it's in a booklet. Now, what I believe is social engineers out of the Tavistock Institute, which is 100% fact, by the way, the paradigm you experience is written out by people, geniuses and savants who work for these people, who are snapped out of Oxford and Cambridge when they're spotted, and they work in these organizations to train in social engineering, which is setting out the fake paradigm which you live in. It's easy to do. They have the media, okay? So the globe was easy. Now, I can have sort of proved in my mind that this globe was introduced in the 18th century by force. The fleet turns up, okay, to say some foreign shore, or say Burma, for example. The people are all worshipping, funny, but they're all into satanic cult at this era as well. They're into Kali Yuga worship. So, you know, the destroyer there, they are really destructive societies at this era. But the fleet turns up, tortures, murders everywhere. Cannibalism is rife in this era, and for some reason they force the globe on these people. So what I believe has happened is somewhere in the near past, outside of the social engineering paradigms, they've done this. They've introduced the globe. We're only 200 years on. The history's been handed to us. Nobody's alive from that era. There's no photography from that era. We couldn't possibly know, and all the information is handed to us from then, and it's fake, all of it. We're proving this now. So let's just get back to the atmospheric. Do you want me to present screen, Karen, and show you some stuff?
Yeah. Are you good at presenting?
All right. I won't be able to do it for too long.
I'll just take it off just for a minute while you're changing it over, because
you won't got a chat up there.
You want me to put the chat on?
Fine. That's mine. Don't worry.
I've just taken it off you while you change the page, just in case.
Okay. Yeah, fine. Thank you. Let me have a look.
But I think you're pretty good at sharing.
I would if my pages would show up. Have you literally given me any controls?
What do you mean? You should be able to just share.
Yeah, I should be able to.
We don't have trolls on this channel.
Yeah, you do. I noticed a lot of people have been sniped just lately. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, did you know that we were as well?
No, I didn't. What, with porn?
Yeah, a few months ago.
No. I got done once as well, years ago. No, all the showing up is that screen, but don't worry. Share. Okay. You seeing that now, Pages?
Yeah, you showed the link, so I'm glad I took it off of you. But anyway,
Yeah.
before you click off, let me know, all right? Because I'll take it off you. Here we go. I'm presenting you now.
All right. Sorry, but like I couldn't shift your page in time, and it was only showing your.
That's all right. Before you click
page.
off, just tell me. Anyway, carry on, Martin.
Right, now this is from apparently this late 1600s, so not even the 1700s, and what it's dealing with is this thing here called Caphrolis and Pullicus, which is basically a negative and positive opposing charges with magnets, it turns out. And what it gives you is a bit perplexing, this, because it deals with some sulfurs in the air and different chemicals, but it's all in Latin, obviously. But this is what it will show you. Now, this is what we believe is going on. Towers and churches are actually, or have been in the past, taken over by religion. They've been downgraded for what they do. Now they've just got the church organ. They're still doing the harmonics, don't get me wrong, but it's not going into the environment. Now, we have theorized whether this went wrong, you know, and caused the mud flood that happened, or the mud floods. I believe there was more than one. So what you're seeing here is gathering of what we believe is energy from the ether. But what we also believe, funnily enough, by reading this, it turns out that it causes large explosions. So can it be a weapon as well? Now, we have theorized, I'll just go to another page, that it's possible that it went wrong. Okay, and bubbled up, because I've seen an experiment with an electric charge or a note going through a sand pit, and the sand pit starts rippling and causing mountains and hillocks. And when the electrical effect stops, it literally looks like a landscape. So I can't help thinking that if this mechanism went wrong, then it could have bubbled up and caused mud floods. In fact, caused hills. Caused our landscape to look the way it is in Britain. Maybe it wasn't always mountainous. Maybe it was flat. Something.
We have suffered these electrical arkings.
Yeah, exactly. Now this one's from 1629, Karen. Okay, and what is the weird thing that it's showing you? Apart from this is a church. Okay, so this is your land. So it's got something below. Now, what I presume at this point is churches are hiding a lot more below. Okay, I think they go a damn sight lower. Now, I'll give you some examples of architecture, churches, and atmospheric electricity now next. But the weird thing about this is they seem to be collecting energy from passing comets. They are literally utilizing comet energy and through church buildings, from this diagram and what we got from the Latin translation. So this is what I do, Karen. This is where I find out what I need to find out. Is from texts, okay? But I got 2 or 3 people that decipher for me. So because I'm not big on Latin, you know, a bit of it, but not enough to decipher it all. So that's where we're at. We believe the churches are church machines, church mech, and we believe the key to our reality, including the shape of the earth, is locked in architecture. Now, I'll scroll through these. I took these yesterday when I went out last night. Now, 17th century documents. I found this one, or had it passed to me this week. Very unnerving. Again, showing you keys to our reality. Now, I'll just show that in a minute, Karen. Let me just show you a couple of these. So what we got here is what we think. And this one I got passed to me off a sub of mine called Flat Earth British Sub. I don't know whether you heard of him. He's a subscriber channel of mine, and he helps me with all my work, Karen. He's absolutely brilliant. This is possibly the last atmospheric electricity lamp in England, which he's caught in London, because he's there every day working. I know I've seen examples of this. I don't think it's the only one. But what it isn't doing, it isn't running on gas power. There's something else going on. So it's one of the old atmospheric lamps that was taken out between 1895 and 1900. Now, I got proof of that on here. I just scroll down and see if I got here and find it. Oh, there's all the conference there, Karen. I have actually got footage as well.
Oh.
Yeah, I got loads. So 2 seconds. I'll just go through a bit for you, and I'll talk about it and do a narrative while I'm going. So Genghis Khan. Now, there's no evidence for Genghis Khan ever existing, or Kublai Khan, or Kublai Khan's apparent city, Xanadu, and this apparent domed city, which had a dome on it, where Kublai Khan apparently resided. There's no evidence of them ever existing. So these, what they call Mongols, are actually the remnants of the Tatarian Empire. And what you find is some of their population are big. Okay, giants are out there. So this is some mud flood evidence, Karen. I'm sure if I can blow it up on me. So look at this building and the level it is at here. Okay, and this is what it looked like back in the day. So it was at least a dozen foot under mud. So mud has come in. So there's evidence for the mud flood. And I believe there was 2. I believe one of them happens around the events of 1812 through to 1811 through to 1812, which is what's called the year without summer, or the year of comets, or Napoleon's comet, or there's so many, the year of the beggar. There's so many references to what this time was called, but I think it was the defining moment for humanity. Now, what you've got here is the beheading of Louis XVI, but what you find is the men that are doing it are very, very big indeed. This guy's really little, so I don't know.
Martin, where is that?
At the Versailles in Paris after the French Revolution. So a giant's doing the business. Well, in this depiction, they are. You got more tech up on the roof, look, on the building, yeah. Now, what you will find with this architecture, even biblical times, it's the same architecture. Now, they like to rub our faces in it like they do with the globe. So they do it with light shows. They are literally showing you that this thing was a machine. This thing is not built by monks. It's not built by medieval monks because of the maths and the requirements to gone into this would be just no, right? So that's what's going on. Is today's society is rubbing our faces in and saying, look at the somatic pattern window. There was actually a portal, for goodness. Imagine it like a speaker pumping out.
Martin, that building there, how long did it take them to make? Because I'm pretty sure
they
didn't make it in like a couple of years. It must.
Well, that's part of the psyop as well, you see, because they tell you that Barcelona Cathedral has taken 600 years to complete, right? Yeah, you've got Lincoln Cathedral, which was the highest in the world until Statue of Liberty, highest building in the world. Yet they only say that took 11 years. So I think that the longevity, because that would go through generations of people, wouldn't it? So
if you think the York Cathedral, I think it took over 250 years to build, man.
Exactly, the Minster.
Generations.
And look what happened to that.
That's
and do you know what wing they burnt? Do you know what burnt in that wing? The library. The library burnt in that wing, my friend. It's just more evidence of the past. Look, all of the main libraries have been burnt. Where all the documents were housed for the 1800s were in Birmingham Library, and it burnt down in 1900. All books destroyed. All evidence of our past destroyed. And they've completely written it. Libraries is a biggie. Now, I worked in stonemasonry for years, and we found a key through stonemasonry. Now, this curling thing here, I originally interpreted it as a toroidal. Maybe it still is. But we've actually pinned it down to what it is. It's a depiction of what's called a volute pump. A volute pump, okay?
What's that?
It's a type of water pump. Pumps high pressure water. A volute pump. If you look at it on Google, it's very much out today. This N keeps turning up. I don't know what it is. M is in McDonald's. Now, this was sent to me from a Jesuit church, which has got, like it says, Sancti Dionysus inside, and martyrs, which is a reference to Dionysus, so it's demonic. But it's in a church, and they got the devil's face with a crown on top. It just screams that the church, or whoever they are, this is this Jesuit church again, is so intercoded, it's hard to even put into words, with keys to our reality, the flat plane we live on. Now, I believe through architecture, we can find the keys to our controllers, because they are so vain, they have put their faces on the monuments, guys. I will show you now. Two of the controllers are brothers. One of them's got a beard. This is in this ancient church a girl sent me in Bosnia. So indeed, the Knights Templar had visited there at some stage. So churches, mechanisms. Now this is an old church. Not all of it is part of it. This curling bit here, these bits that reach up into the ether. Okay, when it was a working mechanism, they would have been able to draw power. And then he closed it all off. Here we go again. Church window. This is in the Balkans. I think it's Bosnia. Cymatic pattern windows. Yet they blocked it over. Not only that, this window here blocked it over. So there's been a great attempt to get rid of this mechanism, what we call Antiquitech, through wars. Because I have evidence that in Europe, a lot of these cathedrals were literally, oh, excuse me, that's my old flat when it was empty. Literally, oh, that's, I got loads of churches. Give me a second. Let me just get down to, now what I did take was a load of evidence from an old book that I got, actually, Lost London. But what it will show you is good examples of what I'm trying to say. So this is in Istanbul, in what would have been in the center of what they call their hippodrome. Now, the hippodrome's not there anymore. But what they did do is they apparently collected remnants of antiquity, but what you do get is obelisks, which are 100% part of it. These minarets, 100% part of it, and a coiling metal pole. Now, then coiling metal poles all over India. Even today, you can go to any Indian village or city, and they have a metal post twisted like that in the center. For some reason, well, it's part of that system. Even India had it. Now, I'm just going to show you some of these, if I can. It's evidence for mud flood. Mud flood. Did it happen? Well, I'm 100% believe that it did. Now, there's no reason why you would build this front facaded building, okay, yet the windows at the bottom are looking at a wall. You would build the building higher. So, are they basements? Well, no, because they're all over my city, and they are big, big windows people are living in, looking at walls. So what happened? Well, there was an inundation of mud, okay, this high. I believe these buildings go a lot lower. I believe they lie about their age, okay. Keys to our reality are on everything.
Just, I don't mean to like contradict you there, but wouldn't everybody have found basements or floors? Wouldn't they have found them? What's happened to the, like the, what do you call it, the foundations of the building then? Deeper again. This has been proved in many, many cases. Let me show you.
Remember the servants and all the, you know, serfs, they lived in the basements, didn't they?
Yeah, but this seems to be an era where there's no buildings on Earth have got basements. So there's no basements on flat Earth. And then suddenly all buildings of a certain era, okay, which they will akin to early Victorian or Georgian, which all exhibit exactly the same thing. That they're underground, and they seem to be. Look, I'll show you some in my city now, because they are literally restaurant shop windows, and we've got other ones with people living in them. They're just looking at brick walls. Now, this can be found not just in London, in every city in basically the world. Okay, America shows the same. So that's my rabbit. Just running with my feet. So. Is it a technique of architecture that they just build windows looking at brick walls? Well, no, it's not, because this is exhibited, all over the world. You will see these buildings. So how do they get away with it if it's true? Well, they lie about the age of when the building was built. To start off, there's no evidence for these buildings being built. None. We have no architectural plans.
They're not there, and then they're there.
Exactly. So are they older? Well, yeah, I do believe, because this is the key, is what they call Greco-Romano architecture, which is literally in Paris or London or any German major city, Rome, and they all exhibit the same, okay? But what you do get is this pointy arch. Now, that's a little bit of a key. And also these twining toroidals, which I believe is a key as well, and the pillars. All part of what was initially a mechanism. Now, we believe, that's dinosaurs. We actually believe that railings are also part of it. Bollards, always metal. also part of it. Chain link fences that go from one bollard to the next. No, I believe that they carry the current down the street. That's what I believe anyway. So let me get past these. These are not good examples for you. Let me get some juice. Now, it is a giant leap of the imagination to think that there was giant events, but if you research New Madrid and you find out that there was the biggest event, it happened plain wide, the crops failed, millions died. The only example they've got of it in history books is what they call the potato famine in Ireland at this era. But you know what, 24 million in China, just tens of millions plain wide, where all crops plain wide failed and millions died, leaving cities, because it was so major, this event, like literally empty. Now, I've covered this on my channel before, where I show evidence in major cities in a certain period of time, there ain't no people. There's no people. So what's going on? So this is the architectural key, what we call the fleur-de-lis pattern inside, and this toroidal, okay, two of them is part of the key. Now it looks like a face, doesn't it, when you look at it? Look, two eyes, doesn't it? Looks like a bit of a weird face. So just give me a second. Now, architecture. Something happened where they just started introducing, they replaced angels and cherubs with nasty demons and gargoyles. So when did they arrive, these gargoyles? These here that are on churches, churches, places.
And castles.
And castles. Why have Wales got 650 castles when it's so small then, Astral? Why indeed?
Why?
650. Here they are. So these two show up. I've seen them twice yesterday, once today. They show up on every civic building in Britain, in architecture, all over the world. These two faces will show. Once you see them, you don't unsee them. And this demons in all of antiquity. So there's been some sort of demonic takeover in the 1800s. I believed it to be parasitical forms talking into your head. I believe it to be aspects of that, but I believe it was more. I really do believe it was more. The swastikas in here, look, in the architecture, which are obviously peace signs. Okay, and then these little flowers as well, which look like the Tudor rose, which are basically little depictions, what I believe, of the flat Earth, with the little Mount Meru or the Axis Mundi in the middle. And
Martin, very quickly, let's be practical. As asked a question: could the mud flood explain why they threw sewer in the streets in the Dark Ages? With a question.
Yeah. Well, I've got a good example. If you study the art of an artist called Giovanni Piranesi, he's a 17th century Italian artist, and what he shows you in Italy. Let me see if I can bring him up. In Italy, look at the Pope there. He's got devils on his thing. He likes the devil on his thing. God, he's evil. Let me see if I can bring one up. Now, Piranesi is an artist that will show you exactly this mud flood. What it will show you is sublime architecture, but they can't get the heads around building pavements or any infrastructure. So what you're seeing is half-buried buildings. I can just bring it up. Piranesi. There he is, one there. Half-buried buildings and inundated streets. Now, Piranesi is not the only artist. There's many that have British artists that have painted the same thing: a mud flood and events happening, and we being in the after effects of an event. So post-flood survivors is what they're showing you for Piranesi art. Now, not only him and the civilization that went before us, which is this. Okay, high technological society, guys. Okay, and collecting atmospheric electricity was just one part of it. I believe the people were living a very long time. This is apparently under our realm, and the working mechanisms that run it, which Piranesi would love to show in his artwork. Are they down there? I don't know. They're so vast. I don't know where he got his head around for these things. So he shows you Italy, smashed architecture, and the streets inundated with mud. Now, you can look at these pictures, you can think, well, it's because it's been there 2,000 years, isn't it? But I'm afraid not, because I could show you, what I will now in a minute, evidence of the buildings being in complete repair, absolutely mint, but like the streets are, as you see, are covered in muck. You know, and up the walls, you can see that something has come through. It looks like a tsunami has come through, the water's drained off and left all slurry in every single picture, because that is exactly what has happened. Okay,
Right,
the mud. Yeah, I think the mud was hot mud. I think it was partly the slurry from the water that left the surface of the land, or the land rose again after an event, and then it ran off, one or the other. And I think that there was electrical arcing as well, definitely. I think this boiling mud solidified, and I think
When do you
rather
think
than
it was again, Martin?
sorry.
When do you think this was again? This time?
Well, I think there was one around the Comet era of 1811 through to 1812. There was definitely something major happened. Not only the comets and the arcing and the earthquakes, such as Caracas, Versace, Veracruz, New Madrid, Lisbon was a couple of years earlier, but there's these major earthquakes, and I mean they're the biggest in history. They're like 8 pointers, some of them are 7.2, some. These are huge. And basically, the weird thing is they're all the richest cities on earth and all coastal. So I started to juggle with the idea, just hang on, is this stuff being done deliberately? Now, I know it sounds insane. Like, I started to juggle with the thought of, do they have an earthquake machine to reset us? Is it something to do with the Ark of the Covenant? Could the Ark of the Covenant be like an energy center for all of this mechanism here? Now, pyramids, as I've proved on my channel many times, are not just in Egypt. Egypt is a psyop. What you see of Egypt, I've presented on my channel many times, the real hieroglyphics, not the hieroglyphics they show you now. They are rubbish. The hieroglyphics, the real one, outside of the Rosetta Stone, are ideograms, and they're based on a more complex language, which I've got, I've written down in my special book, and I've started to decipher. Now, this is a language that is similar to the Phoenician language, even Hebrew. So they're all one society, and the what you think of Egypt is complete bullshit. Even the era is not what they present, and all the kingdoms as well. It's not what they present. It's just rubbish. And these, and in every country in the world, pyramids, they are in Egypt, they are in Jerusalem, they are in Rome, and Piranesi's art. I've just seen that one. These are not the best examples, I've got to be honest. But the Trevi Fountain, I chucked money in there, and they say when you chuck money in the Trevi Fountain, you were always destined to go back to Rome. Do you know what? It works, because I did go back. That's not too bad, but what they will show you in most Piranesi, I like the color Piranesis are the best. This is the Parthenon in Rome. I've been in here. They say it was a pagan church. It's got what you call an oculus at the top, right? Now, what is the real reason for an oculus? Is it letting stuff in, or is it letting something out? Now, when I went in here, I walked across this floor. It was raining through this hole. I thought, Christ, it's been raining in there for all this time, 2,000 years. And they say this is made of concrete, this stone. And when you get to the top, it's only this thin, and it's been there 2,000 years. But when you dig into it, yeah, but it's not though, Karen, because I can squash all of this down into a 900-year period, is what I believe. I don't go with any Scaligian chronologies. I think it's all a lie. I think we are a post-flood society. I think this is the evidence, is this smashed last civilization, because their calling card you can identify through their architecture, and they were indeed highly technological. I think the event happened, Noah's flood, and I think that it took 200 or 300 years to get us back on our feet. There was really struggling times. And then basically the 1500s, something really sinister happened with a religious takeover, which they call the Renaissance. And then the 1600s and the 1700s, things really start to get interesting, but the whole plane is worshipping ISIS cult. Okay. It's incredible. The whole plane is on this same cult, and then people will say, oh, well, they'll hark back to a historical event. Well, the Muslim-Christian wars. And I'll say, oh, really? Well, I can present evidence that actually the Christians and the Muslims were very much together. Oh, really? Yeah, fighting a common foe that came from the East. Oh, really? Who's the common foe? Well, we don't really know. Now, they talk of this foe, this East beast from the East, or this anomalous black army, where they say black because it's evil, and it turns up and erects the day. So there's that aspect of society as well, where this great anomalous army turns up from nowhere, from the East, and spoils the day. So use your mud-flooded piazza in Rome. You're going to get all your beautiful architecture, your energy-gathering buildings, okay, your energy-gathering obelisk, and these bollards around the obelisk. That's not so anybody ram raids or smashes into the obelisk. These are part of it. These obelisks or these bollards below these, they're all part of it. Okay. So what you do see, excuse me, is smashed masonry and mud. Now they can't. You've got to think to yourself, well, they can build carriages like that, architecture like this. Yeah, they can't lay a pavement or basically a sewer system or a road. Now, this is the whole of America as well, mind you. You've got to think.
Great big buildings like that.
Sorry?
Great big buildings like that, and they're look what they're wearing, look what they're driving around.
Well,
in.
exactly. That's the point, isn't it? They're building sublime architecture, right? And yet they can't build an infrastructure. Is a killer for me. I think that's 100% definitely that there was an event, and the roads are covered in mud. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So I think there was two. I believe that there was one, possibly mid 1800s. I'm juggling with that one a second, though, if I'm honest with you.
Not in our history, though, is it?
Sorry?
Not in our history books, though, is it?
No, you won't have none of it in your history books. You won't see any of it in your history books because they can't, you see. They can't tell you of New Madrid events. They can't tell you of Constantinople earthquake, San Francisco. You get the official narrative, but not the official accounts of what happened that day, as in loud, explosive gunfire before the earthquake started. You don't hear that in the official narrative, do you? So what's going on, really? You have mud flood in the 19th century. So this is a link concerning the mud flood. Just idea out there. But was it?
The time frame is that we're not as old this time round, is it?
No, we're not. I do believe we're in a reset system, Karen. I believe that there is a creator, 100%. This fingerprint is there. But I do believe that our controllers have the ability somewhat to cause events. Now, it would take a lot of events and a lot of activity to kill 7 billion people. People are not easy to kill, one. And to kill 7 billion or a lot of the, or reset the population, start over. It's not as easy as you might think. I think it would take a lot longer. I don't think it would be in an instant. I think this thing would be longer, maybe over a decade, I believe, maybe a bit longer. And the aspects of it will be events, earthquakes, volcanoes. Now, the big island, as you know, in Hawaii has popped these clogs. I had a link sent to me earlier. People saying that they were stocking up, some saying they were evacuating. So it's really interesting. Now, this is a link here I dug up the other day. This was put forward by Philip Dushinin, who's a mud flood expert out of Moscow. Have you heard of him, Karen?
Not sure.
He's from Moscow. He does good stuff. He doesn't do many flat earth videos, if I'm honest. But I tell you one thing, the guy's very clued up, and he is a flat earther. I'll be on a show in a week with him. Do you know Rosette de la Cruz? Have you heard of her?
I'm not sure, no.
Yeah,
I
she is a flat earther, but she does like decoding, which I'm definitely into decoding. Okay, now check these out. Now, 1700s, their heads are gone. What? This is this ISIS religion. that everyone is worshipping. This is a link, the art, philosophy, visualization, Aristotle, early 17th century Paris. And they give you these depictions. So you get the tree of life. So is that the tree of life or is that the tree of knowledge? I'm not sure. So what you find is you get this fountain. I have got some up on my Google Photos. I might be able to blow up. But you got this guy who turns up here with a basket full of legs and arms. And he's got leg missing. And you've got this giant monk talking to these little monks. And these are giants too. Look, because these are fully grown men, aren't they? So
that one-legged giant there.
Yeah, exactly. So they're lady giants and they're giants. So the Benedictine monks of this era seem to be giants. And these gaggle of slaves who were doing as then told. But this guy, he seems to be big too. And he's going up these stairs to this sort of fountain affair. Okay. But what it does say here, which I wish I could blow it up on my pictures, is incompleta. So it shows you legs and arms. And then it says here, completa. So are they bringing back the dead? Is this a rejuvenation for people who've lost limbs? Is this eternal life? Because in the 1700s, you know, the alchemists, their whole context was the search for the philosopher's stone, the search for eternal life. So the Vatican, this is some sort of weird phoenix, really evil. So I found this, it passed to me, and it's coded to help, but it's flat Earth, definitely. You get comets, and you get people blowing the wind in. There's a comet up here, which I definitely think there's more going on with comets than we can imagine.
You think this happened with the electrical arkings?
Well, they look like rockets when they're up there, don't they? You know, I think they're in a layer of the firmament. I think they're
balls, these like stone balls find.
Or thunderbolts. Have you ever seen ball lightning? Have you heard of ball lightning, Karen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one went through my nana's house, my grandmother's house. A front door opened. It flew past her, literally dodged her, like if it was conscious, right? It went out of a back door, it rolled down the street, jumped in the canal and exploded. And when I vlogged about that, I had loads of reports into me then, people saying, oh my God, that happened to me or happened to my grandparents. A thunderbolt banged around the caravan, knocked my grandmother over flat and then went out of the window. Almost
Martin, sorry, can you zoom in on that picture a little bit?
Yeah, let me bring it up for you. Yeah, let me get my Google Photos up and I'll put it in for you. Because I tell you what, it's worth seeing. I can mag up on it. It's a mind blower, Astro. It really is a mind blower. I've got them here.
Very hermetic to me, you know.
It is. There is a bit of Hermes in it, a bit of hermeticism, but it's difficult to define what is going on with this caper. Let me just blow it up now. Oh, that's as big as you're going to get it, I'm afraid, brother. That's a shame. Is it bigger than on there? It's bigger on here, I'm afraid. So this guy here, he turns up all through antiquity. He's everywhere. He's on London shop fronts and everywhere. So they got burning towers, swimming nymphs.
You can see there underneath it says materia, doesn't it say? And then it says privatio and forma.
So what do you make of that?
Well, it's definitely what I just said.
The rejuvenation.
No, but I mean it's Latin, but it's to do with, isn't it? It's what do you call it? Alchemy.
Yeah.
It's alchemical. Look at the symbols. There's a little fire furnace there.
Right? Yeah.
No.
Artist
the rings of Mercury. You've got the cube.
Yeah.
Got,
that's fabulous. Yeah.
All sorts of things.
Well, there's a guy there, Green Reaper, and he's burying someone in the ground there. What's she got? Yeah, you're right.
Looking at that, decoding. He wants a good.
Man, it takes decoding. But he's holding a what you call a clock timer, you see, and he's in this architectural surround, standing on these wing balls, and he's like sort of in
what's it say above that? Corpus naturale, the natural body.
Yeah, the natural body. Yeah, I've seen that. So what the hell is going on with the mindset of the 1700s? It's only 300 years, 400 years ago, this is, right? They may as well be a million years ago. This is so unrelated to anything we can have an experience. So this is the architecture, the society. and their art. So what exactly is going on with this era? Look at this. Metaphysical, right? It gives you, I'm not sure if it's the tree of knowledge, this one, it might be. But look at this in the middle. Can you see this, Astro?
Yeah.
You've got two monks, you've got a sage in the middle, and a Masonic handshake. It's got his thumb over the hand in the middle of it all. So the premise of the whole of this is Masonic handshake in the middle. What about this?
Martin, I've got 2 questions for you from the chat room.
Yeah.
Caroline.
Hi, Caroline.
Can you ask Martin about where he thinks Atlantis is? How does this fit in? Thanks.
That's a good question. Well, I got 2 minds with Atlantis, actually. I think it's an inundated landmass and gone. But my heart's sort of feeling now that Atlantis is, in fact, here, but not in our part of the realm. Okay, so is Atlantis an analogy for that continent that's just, a little bit further outside of this realm, or further on outside the ice wall? Because we all sort of believe that there's more land. I do. I certainly believe it's all about more land. I can hear that pilot now saying to his passengers, this, what you're seeing now, is not on any map. Now, they do say that. That has been said. So there's stuff hid up there, okay? So Atlantis, well, it's funny you should say that, because Atlantis's design looks exactly like a star fort. Some of it looks like a somatic pattern, but it could be, it's identical to Angkor Wat, which they say is Middle Ages. They say that was built in the 14th, 15th century, Angkor Wat, not that ancient. Angkor Wat in Cambodia. Yeah. So that is a microcosm of the flat earth as well, which I believe, it is. So are we in Atlantis? Is Atlantis here? No, I don't believe Greek philosophy, and I don't believe in the Greek, anything to do with the Greeks, because it's such a long time ago, and the evidence and the sources are from then and limited. So I don't believe we can go with Aristotle, or indeed people like Confucius, because his name is Confusion. So I pretty much in your face. Confucius say what Confucian says. So, they do play with the words and play with our minds with a lot of this, But yeah, that's what I've been able to try and decode the 1700s, and all I can come up with.
I've got one more question for you just before you move on with that.
Yeah.
Tearing Down Strongholds asked, could you ask Martin what the books are called he studies?
God, I got so many. The lead atlases. Now, let me see if I can bring one up. I'll show you. Okay, stay there. Oh, they're not going anywhere anyway.
Visa.
The problem with the lead atlases is they take a bit of bandwidth to present. So I'm not sure if you can present one on Google Hangout, but we'll see. Am I coming through okay, Karen? Have I had any?
Yeah, no, you're fine. Just as long as you don't show the link.
Yeah, no. All right, then. So this is a lead atlas. Now, they come from 1733, and you'll get basically every single one that I've got, I get from this Gallica, which is a French website, and they will show you these lead atlases from 1733. Now, what you find with these is that they are designed by a guy called Pierre van der Haar, who's a Dutchman. And now Dutchmen or Flemish men basically rewrite the history. All the history books go through them first, and they are subject to religious scrutinization. And what I mean by that is different camps in religion. So on one corner, you've got, say, the Mennonites, and you've got the evangelists, or what have you, the Seventh-day evangelists, or what have you. So they all got put their separate religious fingerprint on their version of history. And it has to go through these people before it actually gets to the people. Okay, so what you're looking at here is a lead atlas. This is a beauty, and it will show you Jerusalem, a highly technological, pyramided Jerusalem. And Antiquitech is being used to great effect. How do I know? Because these round towers here are part of it, and you will see these towers here. And when you get back to the outside, now remember, this is Jerusalem, not Egypt, okay? But what you find is they are dug with the highest clips you've ever seen in your life. So this stuff has been dug out, okay? Now, it's not there today. It is.
Martin, can I ask you one simple? Have you tried to match that picture with the actual map?
God, yeah. Yeah, I've got about, it'll give you different versions of it in these atlases too, through different times.
I'm looking at that wall there. I'm looking at the high buildings, right? I mean, I've been to Jerusalem.
Yeah,
there are still. I mean, yeah, it's still there, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but if you could match it up,
temple.
Sorry.
There, Herod's temple, and look at these deep crevices or deep alleys that have got like literally little viaducts going over into Herod's palace here. Look, it's just, and isn't it a modern-looking building? In fact, it's modern sort of architecture as well. But I'll go on and I'll give you an example. Now, this is the outer limits of Jerusalem here. And what you find is you get this pyramid on little rounds on the corner. You see this all over antiquity. And it's directly in front of, which you will always get, two towers or two balls. I believe it's transmitting power through all of these round things on top of the buildings, and you'll always get a round sort of shaped street with all of this. I think that's an augmenting device. Let me see if I can give you an example. See if I can show you. So there it is again. You can see there's an obelisk outside, or a pyramid outside of the city, directly in line. I believe it's picking up the charge or the atmospheric. So what you're looking at here is ancient languages, Abrahamic tree actually, all the way from Noah down to the present day. So if Noah was in fact a reality, how many generations to get to?
Martin, when you look at some of the pictures, right?
Yeah.
When you're actually looking at them, it's hard to believe that some of these pictures are like 200 years old. They almost look as modern as we are.
Well, there's do you know what, Karen? There's more to it.
The glass in the buildings and the shape of some of the buildings, they're so like today.
You've spotted it without spotting it. Now listen to this, Karen. This will blow your mind. Now these lead atlases will give you something happening like you see here, okay? But every single face is an individual. Some of them will be looking at the camera. And what I believe that I know it sounds crazy, but I believe that these are some sort of form of silkscreen printing photography. I believe that it's not actually being, completely made, because I can't imagine that I've got like maybe 50 to 100 of these atlases, and there are many more. They were sold for pittance, by the way. The guy who made these, Van der Haar, died the very year they were released in 1733. No accident, guys. Now,
can I ask you what, it says there like A, B, C, different things. What is it that those are indicating?
Well, in the fronts of these atlases, Astro, there's an index, okay, but it's in a really, obscure this language. So it's Dutch Latin, Dutch Germanic. God, there's God.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So it can be read. I do decipher a lot of it. And I have people to help me with deciphering. A guy in my comments.
Vinny, Vinny will translate that for you, no problem.
Yeah, well, exactly. I got Vinny. I got a few people in Holland. There's Ziki as well, Ziki Droppy. So what am I looking at here? Well, you're looking at the landscape of Jerusalem, but obviously, like, there's a city here. You'll get them all over, complete with oogles of pyramids. As I said, guys, pyramids are not just Egypt, they're the whole realm. I don't know if you can see this city. This is the Dead Sea here, okay? Now, it's a saltwater sea. It's the most salinated on the plane, isn't it? You can literally float in it. And I've studied around the Red Sea. There are many, many resets around the Red Sea, but at this period, they're cities. Not only cities.
Martin, the Red Sea is not the salty sea, it's the
Dead Sea.
That's
what it's called, the Dead Sea. I said Dead Sea.
Oh, sorry. Well, that's the Red Sea.
Rooted Sea, Dead Sea. So they give you cities with giant obelisks. So it looks like Nelson's Column, pyramids. So all of these cities, they can give you the name, Borona, and all of them have got pyramids and giant towers. Okay, definitely lighthouses are part of this story, because you've got the lighthouse of Alexandria or the lighthouse of Paris. So that thing is apparently part of it. And then what you've got here is what is happening, or what could happen. This is a depiction of a reset in a lead atlas where electrical arcing is taking place. And as I've explained, this is exactly the scenario of New Madrid or Caracas. Now, it was such a pivotal event. It's been depicted by artists like Picasso. And what you see here is entire cities, and it is that masonry, that last culture, the one we call Rome, right? Which the remnants are there. So an event happened, look, where it swallows up entire buildings. They all crumble to the floor, and they're all swallowed up again, where these chasms or these canyons swallow up again. And great electrical arcing out of the sky. What's with that castle there? Well, they're running out with their hands in the air. Something's exploded in that castle. There's a pyramid. And electrical arcing, look, from the sky, lightning. Okay. Nice crepuscular rays there. Can't believe
Martin,
it. Yeah.
What does it say? What does it say at the bottom of the painting?
Oh, I think it might be Sodom. I think it might be a Gomorrah. This one, is it? Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodom and Gomorrah, brother. But if you read the Bible about Sodom and Gomorrah, they don't, in fact, they give you a different version of events from this picture. And that's what you're always finding in the lead atlases. You're finding the official, like, Bible narrative of Gomorrah, you know, like Lot's wife turned to a pillar of salt because it was akin to nuclear weapons, when in fact you're finding it was electrical arcing. Now, the same thing for the vitrified forts of Scotland. They say all the vitrified forts in West Scotland and some in Ireland have been in the past subject to some sort of nuclear happening. Okay, that's what ancient aliens program, or they would like to say. But what I believe is it's an event. I believe it's electrical arcing. So good times here. This is when things are okay. Okay, so who we got here is Isaac, okay, and Rebecca. Two people. Well, Rebecca, they don't really like to talk about her too much, do they, in the Bible? But as you can see, rich silks, everything's okay. Nothing's going wrong, okay? So we have, is this the Exodus? It could well be. Yeah, so this is the cattle that is taken out for Moses' Exodus, okay? I believe. So what you will find is after the event, they are setting up and everything's on the ground. They're in tents. They are building a culture through foundries. They're building foundries everywhere. You'll see shortly. And this pillar, you can see this obelisk. Okay, it's been smashed. Something's hit it. You can find out what they are, Ellen, and all of that. I'll see if I can link this to you somehow, and you can have a read of it yourselves. I'll basically put it in their chat feed now in a minute after the show, right, Karen? And this guy is literally chiseling new information into this stone, like a new future, like rewriting after the event is starting over.
What you're actually saying is everybody's concentrating on just the pyramids, but in a sense, we've incurred all of this. All of this has been built before, and we're living in the remnants of something else before.
Got it. And before. I couldn't even tell you how many resets at this stage, Karen, but it's looking like maybe 6 or more. I think they last around 1,000 years. I think that we're meant to basically, you know, none of us know the meaning of like of what we're doing here, but I believe the flat earth is like basically breaking the paradigm here. We're breaking, the lies are all coming unstuck, the veil is lifting, the hypnosis is lifting.
Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it though? It's not just one thing, it's just incredible.
Well, look at this. This is the society. I bring this over. I think it's in a more recent time, as I said, but they're all worshipping these deities, like this orbed thing, this thing with a head here, and this eagle monster, and skulls and that, and you get like demons as well. But like in this era, in the lead atlases, there are giants and literally like deities exist.
Why are they wearing those clothes then? Just asking. They're all wearing these clothes. How do we know now?
Well, there's a question. Oh my God, I just hit my bunny food all over the floor. Don't worry, I'll do it in a minute. The clothes, as I said, well, actually, the clothes they're wearing there is basically they don't need to wear much. They're in a stinking hot country. But why hasn't it changed for 1,000 years or 2,000 years, and all clothes are staying the same? Yeah, is that what you're saying?
And
Like
which country is that supposed to be in there?
No, I don't even think them clothes, to me, Karen, even look like from the biblical era. I think they look pretty medievally to me, like Middle Ages. And I'll show you a couple examples in a minute. The women, definitely. I study 16th century art, and a lot of these pictures are looking like photographs. It's really, really uncanny. I don't know how they're doing it. Look at that in the background. You've got a Tower of Babel, which looks like an ultra real. Look at that. That's something from the future, isn't it? You know, and this was made in 1733. Okay, so what are they showing? Well, the mechanism, surely, of Antiquitech, which is the obelisks on the corner of buildings.
Oh, yeah, there's a couple of pyramids over there, or whatever they are.
Yeah, you're going to get them in every city in antiquity. But what I am showing you is the architecture. It looks like the architecture you're going to see now in London. It's the same architecture right the way through antiquity, the Roman colonnades and everything else, the balustrade in every city in the world. And in the lead axis, in biblical times too. But they are different cultures. You get Chinese in here as well. The Tartars, I believe, dressed like this.
What you're talking about, Freemasons has asked a question.
Oh, yeah.
Ask Martin what he thinks, who controls all this, who's done this reset. It's interesting that draws all shows demons and etc.
Okay, well, I believe that, you know, the Jesuits and the Freemasons are just like everybody else, players, pawns to be used by. I'm starting to believe these controllers. Now, I'm starting to believe, Karen, just me, that there may be a plane of existence, or like a plane we got here, a Terra, above the dome. As in, when you get above the dome, there's another place. Okay? Now, are the controllers, who are highly intelligent, beautiful people, very large, so do they come from Hyperborean, or do they come from what I'm beginning to call the sky people? Okay, now I'm literally beginning to think, because the clues are in the architecture. You see, they always show these colonies of flowers falling down from the sky, as if the goodness is up there and all the sin is down here. So is that what's going on? As above, down below.
Yeah, we're like the below. It feels like that. It's like we're in hell.
And below us as well, Karen. You see, I'm beginning to think that like we're Middle Earth. Because they literally like to predictive program us. And if you think about Lord of the Rings, they're saying that we're Middle Earth. What if we were? What if there was a realm above us where the sky people come from? Maybe the controllers. Then people who I show you, I believe to be controllers. And I believe that all of the organizations, anybody like secret societies, that's part of the thing. Whether they are immensely evil, things turn to carnage not long. They want chaos to reign. They want darkness. They have I'm not sure if they're connected to this parasitical entities, which some people call archons or jinn or whatever you want to call them. But it's that negative voice that's niggling away in your brain, telling you rubbish. Now, once you recognize that, cancel it out. Once you recognize that voice, hang on a minute. I just created that scenario in my brain that's not real. That's just nuts. And then you realize it and it goes. And then life changes completely without that negative iconic
what you think.
Yeah, look at this place.
But we are living in a really weird place. It's full of a matrix. It's all lies. It's like an open air prison. So that bit's true.
Yeah,
we're
definitely. And I also believe we're on a mining operation, Karen. You know, it seems to be, even though we're clustered in the middle, you know, on the Azimuth, our realm, they seem to be moving all the populations north, as in, you know, with the EU now and all of them giant populations moving through Europe, and they are funneling them not east, they're not funneling them south or west, they are funneling them all this way, north. Now, for some reason, they're funneling all the population into the centre bit, and they are too, Karen, they are. So that leads me to think that they got something in mind for the centre bit. This is the dressing of the king. This is the clothes you were talking about.
Not
So-
good then, Martin.
No, Karen, listen. What the lead atlases have shown me is the things can turn to poo quickly. Things can turn bad really, really quickly, and people will turn to animals. They're like scared animals, and they will turn to torture and cannibalism and such like within the drop of the hat. Give them a week without food and see what people turn into. And the establishment, they know it. That's why the food never stops. If the food stops for a few days, people change dramatically. Now this guy here, see, he got flames coming out of his head, haven't he? You see him a lot in antiquity. So are people exhibiting supernatural powers like this guy with flames coming out of his head?
You know what they've got down for like the Middle Ages? That basically there was hung drawing and quartering going on. Do you reckon all that was real?
Exactly. Well, I believe that these forms of torture are certainly presented in these atlases, but I believe that it was more widespread. These atlases will show you this fleet turns up and they like literally crucify, 100 and quarter, they're skinning, boiling, taking people's intestines out, hanging them with them, and all these
That's
really
horrible though.
honest to God, what these lead atlases will show you is we are not safe. Okay, that's what it's showing you. These controllers, okay, it's like they're outside of our time, like our aging, so it's not going to bother them. So I believe that they know the keys to our reality. They've got us. We are so detached from our real reality in this measly 5-cent reality we've been stuck in that it is a crying shame. What reality has really got is so much more. These are know it, you know, Karen. And they use it to great effect against us to keep everyone sound asleep, never waking up to their true environment, their spiritual environment, and their realm, a flat plane. Check him out. Doesn't he look funky, dude? Look at him. So he's supposed to be biblical, yet that clothes they could be worn in 1500, couldn't they? Easily.
Well, he's got nothing on his legs.
He has got tights on, and he's got the end.
Can I read what it says? Der Juden bekleed en gedenk Siedels an Hoofden hand.
Sandals. Ooh.
That I would say this Jew, Jurden, that's Jew.
Jew it is, yeah.
Jurden is Jew. Gedenk,
It
I
is.
can't remember what that is, but it's it's a word I've heard many times.
Well, see these
We need to get Vinny. He'll get that translated.
Yeah, it probably will. But it is a Jew, yeah, because it's a biblical thing, isn't it? But these little boxes they carry on their heads, the words in them, apparently
in Hebrew there as well. That's shin. That means.
you know what it's about?
Sorry, yeah.
End of times, end days. They talk about reset and end days, all in there. So what you've got here is things that get really bad in antiquity, as in the water start to get poisoned. So what you're going to witness now is the 7 plagues. Nothing can survive. Now, what were the 7 plagues of Egypt? Well, I believe the events, earlier events, which are the aftershocks of a reset. What I believe is the events, what they say is the Santorini earthquake and volcano, which were in, which took out the Minoan Empire in the Mediterranean. I believe that volcanic event was the cause of this, the 7, the plagues of basically the Bible. Things turn really bad quick in this book. You get the plagues of frogs of Germany. Everything turns really bad in plagues. The people, they just get less and less and less as each plague hits. And by the end of it, that pyramid's had the top taken off. Look, wow, what happened there? Isn't it? That pyramid's okay. That one's maybe not complete. Wow. So the plagues arrive one by one, and by the end, there's very little people left. So this one is the what's that? The locust, is it? Bugs. Insects, so that would be the insects plague. Hideous. And the other lead atlases, when they will show you what happens in every lead atlas is by the time you get to the end, chaos reigns. Okay, and it all seems to be brought on, and not by us either. So same again, pyramids. What looks like architecture meant to be biblical era, and you got this event happening.
Trees. In fact, it's small trees.
Yeah, still trees.
No, small trees.
Oh yeah, but I got examples in these, Karen, right? In these atlases where the trees just grow massive, really massive, and pineapples and fruits are literally biblical. Now, as you can see, things are going really bad at this stage, look. So I don't know what that is.
Did you say Do you say pineapples?
Yes.
Because pineapples, they don't grow everywhere, do they? They're only.
No, man. In the lead, look at that then. So, and this is one of the biblical plagues. What's it showing you? It's showing the same again, isn't it? Something happening from the sky, isn't it? One of these birds just falling out of the sky. Electrical arcing, masonry.
You're breaking up a little bit, Martin.
I can't believe I did that on a Google Hangout. That's like some sort of miracle. Honestly.
You broke up just for a little bit then, Martin.
Yeah, it's presenting these, it is, Karen. They killed my broadband off tragically. Anyway, I'm coming back. Ooh. Let me stop presenting.
Hang on. Let me move it just in case you show the link. Right, go on then.
I won't. I'm back. Hello, people.
We've lost Astral for a minute. It's still showing your picture for me.
No, come back now.
That's it. Yeah, back now.
Anyway, so that's what I've been up to. Church machines and Antiquitech, and we are in a 1,000-year research system. And sort of we're going into a solar minimum at the moment. I don't know whether that's going to start any events, but like literally the big islands up, and the New Madrid, which I posted about on my last post, the New Madrid event is in fact having murmurings, as in strange atmospheric events, strange odors. So that might be sulfur, rotten eggs, and some tremors. So is it signs that events could start happening in the near future? I don't know, but I'm definitely going to keep an eye on it. And from my research, it would definitely look like that we are basically in short or very narrow windows of time, locked in them, and outside of them windows of time are what I just showed you, chaos. And we have no freedom, as you know, and we're completely controlled. To break out of the matrix is very, very difficult to do, because you can't live without it, because it's a control system. But I tell you what, I feel it in my bones that the paradigm is coming unstuck. The lies coming unstuck. Not just the shape of flat Earth, Karen. It's to me, that's why I moved away from flat Earth, you see, Karen. I thought, like, it's just the tip of the iceberg, right? There's so much more. It's a spiritual battle for a start off, okay? I believe that's what's going on. I believe that there are evil entities or a darkness permeating reality that literally corrupts the hearts of men. And I think that's what we're doing here. I think...
so what do you think we're here for then?
Well, I think the last person that denies the creator will indeed bring on the reset. Once everybody has gone to the satanic state, because the system we're living in is completely satanic. Everything's got a satanic overtone or decoded with satanic numerology. So the whole system, our architecture, the buildings we sit in, our religions, our traditions, our funerals and the like, all of it is that. Is this satanic system I just showed you on these atlases, okay? To move away from that to the more, creator type, nice sort of goodness society is not going to be permitted, I'm afraid. They're not going to have it. They are definitely ramping up. As the flat earthers wake up more people, they definitely are responding in kind. No doubt about it. They're leaking more. They're letting us know more, for sure. But the problem is with this research is what I find, Karen, is the more you know, the more you don't know. The more questions open up.
I have to say, because of you, I've actually looked up stuff myself, and I've just got this big feeling like when you were saying you came on one hangout because we're all where we are with what we know, and then we hear more.
Yeah.
And you were saying, I just don't think we've been here that long, and I thought, yeah, I bet that's the truth.
And I think there's something dodgy
stuff about the building.
I think there's something funny going on. Why is it that they bury us 6 foot then?
Why is it what?
They bury us 6 foot down. Why specifically, all over the world, why specifically 6 foot?
I don't know. Tell us.
That's why I'm asking. Do you know? There's something in it. Now, what I found unusual is when people die, they can't wait to get them under the ground. Now, what's with that? No, I know people decompose, but I mean the whole tradition and the ritual of burial. There seems something...
Especially in Middle Eastern countries, they like to bury within 24 hours, don't they?
Or cremation or what have you in India. But what you're finding is my studies about, because I've been looking into churches and all of that, is, all right, they're not churches because there's no graves in antiquity in churches. So where are the dead? So I'll say to myself, okay, they're cremating them in the past. Okay. So there's no graves. And then I see in one atlas of Scotland that they are moving the dead from church graveyards in Scotland after a major event, a mud flood, because you can see Hamilton Cathedral or Hamilton Church is literally buried in mud. So they've had an event, but you can see that they're taking dead out of the holes and they're moving them. Now, is that because of the event that they have shaken them up? Well, possibly, because I reported on an earthquake in Caracas, in Valparaiso in Chile, where the whole of the graveyard lifted up because of the earthquake. So is it that the establishment or the powers know that we're prone to mud floods and etc. and floods, and this is why they bury people so deep that they don't come up and float away like they did in Valparaiso? So I'm thinking that, even with a death, there's like clues to reset. No, architecture, they build nothing permanent, Karen. They build nothing permanent. Now, when
today, you mean? Today,
when we're looking out into the past now, Karen, we can see examples of the resets of the past because, in different states of being smashed up, really far back, they are really smashed, like fairy castles, if you've followed New Urchy shows. And then you come up to like this masonry or this, what I'm showing you now, what you see in Washington or the Bank of England, this 17th century architecture, which I believe, right, is built by another civilization, pre-reset, and has been tatted up, been made good after the events. Okay, that's what I believe. So I believe a lot of the buildings we're looking at in our major cities are not, in fact, from us. Okay, and I don't believe we've been here all that long. Where did we come from is a bloody good question, because they don't know the meaning of like where we come from. They blame, struck by lightning. I wiggled out of a muddy sludge pool as a young fish and sprouted legs. It's not really winging it with humanity, so we don't really know where we come from or the meaning of life. So I believe that's what's happening now. I believe in the next year or two, humanity through the flat earthers will know more about their true reality than they ever did before in the history of humanity. That's what I believe. We will actually find out what we're doing here. How many of us... Can I tell you
something?
I do believe it.
Can I tell you something? We had Brian Forrester on last week, the week before, and he was doing this bit about, a bit that interests him is these elongated head people. And then he was talking a bit about Maria Wheatley, if you know who she is, and she's found some elongated heads the same near Glastonbury. Like, what is all this?
Well, look, I don't know really too much about it. There is.
Can I just say something as well about that, Karen? These cranium that they found, they're not. They have a different seam than what humans.
Oh, you mean, I've seen that. We get that.
So then, they are, like Brian said, they're subspecies of humankind in a sense. So where they're from, how long they were here, where did they come from? it's like, yeah, it's up in the air,
Previous
man.
civilization, isn't it? Maybe they just had big elongated heads.
The crazy thing about this is that Brian's he's found these skulls, or other people have found these skulls, and he's been doing research on them. They've assessed them for, tested them DNA, and well, the information that they've got back, it's being suppressed. It's not being, released to, hey, look, we found these skulls. We've got 10,000 of them in a cellar somewhere in South America. I mean, what's going on? Why would they feel they have to suppress this? I mean, we have many people, all right, we might not be the smartest people, but more people that can look at things and can, talk about things, we can find the answers then, That's what we have to do.
Yeah, we want the truth.
Yeah, exactly.
What do we know? Like, look at the Chinese. Where did they come from? When you research it, the original population of China were in fact Caucasian, and some of them had elongated heads too, in a recent find. So where did they come from? What's going on? Why are the populations showing to have, so is that the population from a previous reset? Is what I think is happening. And I think that we're, like I said, Karen, I think we haven't been here that long. We're in narrower windows of time. It's really spooky when you look past these things, these documents I'm looking into are haunting. They literally stick in your mind. So when you're laying there in the night, you're seeing these images from these books, they are really something wrong with them. So there's something wrong with the time, that era. And I believe that something's happened in this era, the 18th century, this transition where we've gone from angelic, wholesome, really well-living people with this system of Antiquitech to this, when we had angels and all that on our buildings, on our public buildings, and then it all went downhill and you're replaced with gargoyles and the rest. Now, is it a reality that like demons can fly out of the sky, manifest and start attacking us like big winged birds? And well, a lot of the Middle Ages art will show that. So is it an analogy for the psyche? Like, these demons fly into your brain and tell you. I think that there's an aspect of that. But it is showing in my research that basically things turn bad. And they've kept it out of the narrative because it's them that's basically making the bad. And what it is showing is they go nuts on us. Okay? What's called
it's sort of happening now, isn't it, really, when you realise what they're putting in our food system, what they're putting in the air. Question again for you, Caroline Gutman again says to ask you, can you ask him about his thoughts on Tesla?
Yeah, I believe Tesla to be government social engineering psyop. I believe that everybody now believes, he's some sort of like God amongst the flat earthers, isn't he? We are, they sold Tesla busts at the convention. This guy's like flat earthy, isn't he? But what I believe is, if you believe that he invented atmospheric electricity and it was suppressed by the government and they burned down his hotel room in New York and they stole all of the evidence of atmospheric and buried it, and it all went to Edison with JP Morgan. This is the official narrative. Well, now I've researched him quite a bit, and all I can find is one voice recording from the late 1800s, which I've basically posted on my second channel, and a handful of photographs on Google. And there's no more on the entire internet, okay, except for that museum. It's never opened in Serbia, okay, with the remnants of his stuff. So what I believe has happened is that they got rid of atmospheric electricity and taken these masts down there all over Europe and Russia. I've got stacks of evidence.
Yeah, that is one thing that they've done, isn't it? They, in our mind, we look that Russia's behind and all these countries are behind.
No,
it's the other way around.
No, they had the juice. They had it all. They show in the expositions in America, in Chicago, in the 1880s, the cutting edge of sophistication and technology, right? But when you get to like the Volgograd expositions of 1897 in Russia, they got Tesla towers producing atmospheric electricity outside of this giant greenhouse, which looks like Crystal Palace. And when you go in there, all you've got is obelisks and these ball things that are on top of obelisks, and lighthouses and energy gathering devices. You see ceramic superconductors, which are all over pagodas, all over China and Japan. They are also producing atmospheric electricity. Now, they disappear off the realm between 1895 and 1900. So you can only find the photographs in that 5-year period, okay? That's all. They basically take every bit of it, dismantle it, and none of it existed, and they give you the history anyway. You know, there was a lot of literal people in 1900, okay? The school systems were so controlled, it was unbelievable. You know, used to whack a lot of the kids, and they all sat there really miserable getting this education, but it seemed to be more rich than the education we got now. They all done beautiful cursive handwriting and creative writing. Hardly anyone can even do that anymore. But, you know, yeah, the buildings, Karen, are not built to last, because nowadays everything is built with corrugated iron and breeze block, all buildings, so that if something did happen, it wouldn't leave any evidence of this reset for the next people. Okay, it wouldn't. The last ones are showing, and we're working it out. Oh, hang on a minute. There's been civilization after civilization, yeah? Where did they go? So
I was a bit surprised when I saw that stuff about the 3D stuff in the 1800s. I mean, I know what you were saying, that you said, right, I can find this electricity thing a lot older, for many, many centuries, basically. But, you know, if people ask about Victorian people, would they have ever thought really in the 1830s they could do 3D stuff? You know, maybe it's not that high tech in a sense, but I was like, that's really bugged me, that has. And the contact lenses were in the 1800s. Okay, they were bits of glass, but it's like we missed a bit. Like a whole bit's missing, and we stopped because, you know, those posts in the sky, which, sorry, with like the telephone and all that on, they're not just something that we are used to seeing in the 60s, 70s. They've been there for hundreds, and it's like, what is all? It's a bit like we keep entering a film scene, a deserted film scene.
Well, very much like it, but, you know, what I do know 100% is we know nothing of our past. It's all been presented exactly the same as the globe, and when you dig in, it's like,
yeah, because the Romans, they didn't have blocks. They did lots of bricks and plaster on the top, and it's like,
no, they do more than that. They do. When any civic building that's been built, say that you can prove since 1880, what we got photographs for, they lay a cornerstone, right, or what they call a foundation stone. Every foundation stone will have a ritual done over it, which is magic, black magic. When Queen Victoria opened the Albert Museum or the Albert Hall, they laid the cornerstone. She would pour oil and some wheat on it for some sort of ritual. But in Eastern Europe, for the very same ritual, they kill an animal and pour blood on it. And in America, okay, no, this is only a rumor, they use people. Now, what happens with a cornerstone is they do a very, very unusual practice. This is on all civic buildings, mind you. They do a thing called shadow stealing, where they write down the measurements of the person on a piece of paper, okay, a passerby if you like, and they bury it under the cornerstone, okay, forever, okay. And they hired people called shadow traders. Have you heard of them in the modern day? Well, the original shadow traders used to trade in shadows, writing the definitions or the measurements, the height and the width and that of people's shadows, writing them down and putting them under foundation stones for buildings. Now,
what's that about then?
Why would they do that? Indeed, well, it's magic. So when you enter that building, right, you're at a complete disadvantage, because there's a seal, like the golden orb I make around myself. There's a seal around that entire building of evil. So you will never be able to beat it. It will always be a disadvantage. It's black magic, Karen. They're putting it on their civic buildings. This is what they do. They are wizards, and they practice evil over us. And we are like innocent and don't know anything. We just take it, and this is what's happening. And they do it to keep us asleep as well, so we don't wake up. And when we do, like us lot, like, you know, the hypnosis is just lifted, or wow, I just woke up from a dream. Shit, nothing's as I thought it was. Well, that is not really meant to happen. Okay, they don't want critical thinking people. We're very rare, or we were, but now it's increasing a lot. So why is it increasing? Well, I think it's part of the spiritual awakening. I think that it's the next step for us all. I believe that's what's coming. Is before anything happens, I think we're going to take a giant leap into this, because when we try and think of Antiquitech, you're akin it to glasses, cars, and invention. I think it was based on nothing that we can understand. Does that make sense? Because the science is completely lost to us and that sort of knowledge. So I don't think we can literally pull any comparisons. I think it's beyond our frame of reference, is what I believe. But it was there. But how it works, I don't really know. It's based on vibration, harmonics, and resonance, and all is electric. So it's electric universe theory, and it all works perfectly. And this thing existed. Okay, so we have been.
Why do you think they keep resetting us? Why do you think they keep resetting us?
Because place is obviously evil. So is it a battle of good and evil? And if the whole place is evil, like what happened in Noah is the whole place was a toxic waste dump for the whole realm. Okay, they had industry everywhere. Nobody was believing in the creator anymore. They were all believing in effigies and deities. Yeah, same as it is now, Astro. Yes. So it was reset. It was a flood. Okay, the floods came down from above and it came from below, bursting up from the grounds. Okay, but I think it was a lot more. I think it was events like what we, on a massive scale of what we heard about.
Yeah, because there's lots of pyramids and cities under the sea.
Well, that's what they're showing you in these depictions, you see. They show you arc lightning hitting, but that's not what you hear for Sodom and Gomorrah, is it? That's indeed what's happened. So, in these depictions, so I think that's what's happening.
What, though? They keep changing the history all the time, so almost making it impossible to link back.
Almost impossible. If you're gonna hark back to what you heard in the history books, as in what I just said about Knights Templar, and things that they give us, well, I think we're going to just get confused, because I don't believe we know anything about past outside of what I'm just discovering, which is Tartaria, Antiquitech, some harmonic thing happening where everyone was in real well-being, not getting ill, living a long time. Plants.
Yeah, artists showed some walls, ancient walls, and they're all in a wave. The whole thing has been built in a wave round. The same thing as if something acoustic has happened there.
There you go. And I've seen examples myself. No, I have. And as I said, the landscape on that experiment I see, right, where you have a wave, you can break an opera glass, can't you, with a high voice? Ting. So you can cause damage through sound waves. We know this is true. Well, if you get the sound wave just right, okay, you can do a thing called deaggregate, which is the atoms falling apart. You can make buildings turn to dust, cities turn to dust, if you get the frequency just right. So I believe there's some sort of technology out there that the controllers might have. I'm starting to think, is it the controllers that are resetting us, is what I'm thinking, Karen, and not the creator, if that makes sense. Okay, I think that the creator is definitely playing a role, but I think that they are doing it. And what with? I don't know, something in a brown box, we're starting to believe. Something from, and what they mention in the Bible is there's two acts. They say one of them is the Ark of the Covenant, which is possibly a device, isn't it? And they say there's a second one, which is being sought after, which is in fact a drum. A drum. The second act.
Do you think the other resets were ever waking up to all this? Do you think that they woke up?
I have thought it, Karen. I have thought it, yeah. And I thought this has happened before. I keep thinking it all the time. I've said it to loads of people. I said it to Patricia Steele. I've said it to loads of people that when I do this, I get a big feeling of deja vu. Like, oh my God, I've done this. As in, not exactly flat earth British, but I have done some sort of truthing before where it's like the paradigm has changed. We've been affecting paradigm and it's brought it on. It's brought on the change, the next awakening. And I think that what happened the last time, I keep saying this, it's just a fantasy, I don't know if it's true or not, is that we never made it. They reset and we all agreed to meet again the next time around, karmically connected, okay, and try again, and this time win. So that's what I believe is in my football, is that eternal battle goes on, reset after reset. Players come out like ourselves.
Yes, I mean, when you really think about it, right? How we've got all these people, even the Egyptians, we've got them all with camels or carts or something like that. But just look at the buildings, even then. It's like it's crazy.
It's insanity to believe that they had carts, horses, and horse and carts and swords for 2,000 years of that given antiquity, but only catch up in the last 200 years. So it's gone from horseback to the motor car, bang on the 1900 max. So it's almost as if the entire world, the entire reality has arrived at 1900 point. We get electric, we get the car, we get the plane, we get the lot, all at this time. Now, to me, that's a big alarm call that we're sitting on our ass for 2,000 years and we can't get it together to do anything, and then we invent it all. Like, we are really clever all in that decade. No, man. No, man. We had it all along. That's when the scam had happened, or basically the restriction of knowledge, because that's all it's about, is restriction of knowledge, you know. That's what the Freemasons get when they join. They get more knowledge to our reality. The higher up they go, I suppose they give them more. Do they know all of our reality? Well, I don't know. Maybe the ones at the very top, the black magicians, do, for sure. They know.
That's crazy, though, isn't it?
Well, they know how reality works. I do too. It's about positive intent, as I said before. If you think, you know, whatever you feel inside, if you like thinking of bad thoughts, everyone, you're going to have a rubbish day, okay? If you're thinking happy thoughts and blissful or loving thoughts towards people, I can guarantee you your day will be epic. Like today, you know, it's a hard day, you know, lifting a lot of work with my son, and we had some good with droning and that, but it was a stunning day. It was beautiful. Everything was richer. No, I'm telling you now, Karen, since all of these events have happened to me and, these unfoldings in my life and, where I am now in my life, things seem richer, more poignant, and the realm looks nothing like it did before. I mean, nothing like it did before. I cannot see the matrix is appearing constantly. I can see all of it, the scam, for what it is. That includes the globe lie and the history lie and all of it. It's just so apparent to me now. It's just finding a way to bring it online and share it with the people. You know, it's difficult to express what you know.
I do know what you mean myself, because I told you I'd been looking up the 1800s, but I found this other one, a bit like yours, a stencil one.
Yeah.
Is that one was a much older, and yet they had things in the sky, like a bigger version of what we have. They were there with wires. How could it be?
I could show you evidence now of static balloons, or what's called static electric gathering balloons in the late 1700s. A sub of mine, Captain Kirk, posted only yesterday. I got evidence myself, plenty of air balloons collecting electricity early as the 1600s. I don't believe the Wright brothers invented a bi-wood plane in 1909, and then only 6 years later we got like Vickers machine guns on the front of a biplane frightening World War I. That is too much of a giant leap of the imagination, even for me. So something else is going on, isn't it? Now, I pulled apart the Wright brothers photographs, and they're all faked. So they're a psyop. Okay, that's other information. It's falsely given to us.
I think we've noticed that if you change words and you put them in, no one today growing up will notice them, but other people will notice them. But it all gets lost, doesn't it? Because it's not then recorded. It's recorded wrong.
Yeah, you know about the American city fires. I posted at the bottom of my channel, right? All American cities get destroyed in the 1800s. And basically they put expositions or World's Fair on these areas. And they, in turn, also burned to the ground. I mean, every city. I mean, New York, Philadelphia, Washington.
Is that what the fire of London was about then?
That was 1666. That's a 666. That's a dodgy year. I don't even know about that. But I don't think that happened. Not the way they say. But all of these city fires have all got the same MO. And what I think has happened is incendiary airdrops from balloons. And then when I started to sort of, I put that out there and I started the research, I found overwhelming evidence that of balloons dropping explosives in 1600s and 1700s. But they don't tell you nothing about it in the history books. They say that all of this air bombardment was come along in the First World War with Zeppelins, and they mentioned nothing about it yet. I got evidence this thing's been all along. So nothing you think of the past is what you think of the past. We had all of this stuff, Karen. It didn't all arrive 1900. They're just telling you with their agents, like Tesla. He never brought out atmospheric electricity. It was there all along. They want you to think that he brought it out, and then it was suppressed. So you know it's out there. The government got it, and that was 100 years ago, mind. 100 years ago, but we can never have it. When the truth is, he was just an agent, and he was plagiarizing probably technology that was already there, which I can prove that technology was there. I could show you advanced electronics in the Russian expositions in the 1880s, 20 years before, when Tesla was a kid, in a teenager. It's just,
suddenly he sort of just turned up more in our history when he wasn't there originally, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think exactly that, and you'll find that for a lot of people. A lot of these new contemporary things that have come along on the internet. All right, when you research into them, there's very little information, and it seems that they just turned up in the last few years. You get that with a lot of stuff. I'm finding. You look and you think, I never heard about that years ago. And you research it. Not 1 day years ago. This is a new damn thing. Find it with a lot, Karen. It's introduced, it's social engineered by very clever people. They introduce our paradigms, which fashions introduced. In the 60s, we had the miniskirt introduced by Mary Quant. Mary Quant, social engineer from Tavistock, as the Beatles were, as the Rolling Stones still are. And if you're famous and you have a difference on reality, or you can sway millions and millions of people, which rock stars can and film stars can, okay, then they're controlled by them, okay? There's no one's going to be freelance or alive.
It is a weird way of doing it, though, isn't it? Mind controlling everybody and doing it this way. I mean, it's just...
They're subject to it too. They're under mind control as well, to be able to do the things. And you see that, when the mind control collapses, and you see in a lot of these Hollywood stars, Karen, they start to shake and they start to get ill. You've seen it with that Billy, what's her name? Billy Shears. Or what's her name? Oh, Billy, can't remember. Hit me, baby, one more time. What's her name?
Britney Spears.
Britney Spears. She, with a little crack up. And now what I believe is when I believe the MK Ultra is sort of subsided for a minute, and all what they've done and all of what they're part of all hits home, and they have a nervous breakdown. I think that's what happens with these stars.
Can I interrupt there, Martin? I was looking at something today about these singers, and and they are all controlled, man. I saw some today, Pussycat Dolls. They were raped by managers.
Exactly.
They
exactly.
Control them.
All of them, mate. They won't be in it anyway. Look, the 1980s was a sweet time because there was a few independent labels out in the music media. You'd have Stiff Records that Madness joined, and a few others, which were independent labels, yet they were still in the social paradigm, on top of the pops and what have you. But try and find an independent label and a band getting famous on an independent label in the charts is non-existent. They got rid of them all. Anybody now is in their fold. All music now, you've got to admit, guys, I'm not just saying this because I'm getting on, it's rubbish. It's nothing good now. I only listen to flat earth music. I'm 432 or whatever, gigahertz or reggae. All I listen to.
Nice. Yeah, reggae. That's a lot of 432.
Reggae.
I always dubhead. I'm a ratchet. I'm a dubhead. I always have dub on.
I'm a dubhead too.
Hey, so we're three.
I always got a bit of basically, I'm on my old school at the moment, going through all Barrett the Levy and all of them. All the old
nice. Here I come, shiddly whoa.
I played it last night.
Oh, I love that song.
Yeah, same year, mate. Same year. It's that season, isn't it?
Yes.
So that's one of my all-time favorite reggae tracks as well. I was going to sing it. I'm rubbish singer. Nice. That and Under My Slang Tin. And I'm listening to me, and I'm listening to me.
Yeah, but that's also been done like in 1,000 billion versions.
I got a few myself. One with some sort of mix. I don't know.
Can I just ask you something, Martin? So that bit you've just done, that's the bit that you didn't finish in the presentation.
No, I lost it. I can't find that. It's there somewhere in my computer. I didn't present. No, I just grabbed them just now. 10 minutes. I only come in 20 minutes before I went online. I just been over the field flying my drone. Got carried away with the time. Went to the chip shop. Wanted a kebab. Got kept nearly half an hour. My son wanted one. And got through the door 20 to 9. So it was just what's on my Google Photos. I got some on my other photos as well. It's just stuff I've been into this week. That's just this week, Karen. Just this week. I got millions to show you.
I know you're a very interesting man, Martin.
Oh, thank you, Karen. Thanks for inviting me. I do watch you all the time. I enjoyed the other night when you had Alex Tommy. Tommy's a mate of mine. Tommy Rogers. We had him on about Johnny. Come on with before John come on the other day. Tommy, do you know him? Tommy Rogers.
Yeah. Tommy.
In the chat, isn't he? Hello, Tommy.
Hi, Tommy. I like Tommy. I like them all, actually. I like all my subs. I tell you what, I am blessed though, Karen. I say I'm just so blessed. The subs I got, man, all day I could just talk on there with the best bunch of people you can ever imagine in your life. Same with your crowd. I'm just so lucky, honest to God. They're the best.
Yeah, well, you're a real sweetheart, you are, and
you attract a good
man. I've met Martin twice, and I said before we went live, one of the nicest things about Martin is that whenever he meets you, it's like he's known you forever.
Like
that's special. That's a special thing to have because
we went to the Space Center, didn't we? Seen their rubbish. Oh God, the worst ever. Once you go to that place, you know it ain't a globe.
Yeah, well, that day I remember is all the men went off playing. Oh, look at this! Run! Take a picture. Click. Oh, look at this! And they were running around the Space Center. And I got talking to Alan, and he was all about scalar waves and stuff like that. And all the little men were running around with their cameras. And all the children, all the parents were going.
My son's going to be needing me now. He wants food.
Look at the rockets and the children. Oh, everything's so romantic.
Karen, I need the bounce. My son's going to need the kitchen and that. I got him staying over. I got a choice. All right.
That's okay.
I'll go and chat anyway. I'm going to move my computer in the room now. I'll join your chat. I basically.
Well, we might finish not long afterwards, but I've really enjoyed that. Thank you so much.
I would have done better, Karen, but I'm all over the place and I'm just grabbing what have you.
Martin, we love you, and you did really well, my darling.
Yeah, thank you very much, Martin.
I try to explain best I can.
Thank you.
Well, you're going to have to come back soon and then do the presentation one then, aren't you?
I will. I'll do the rest of it. Honest to God, the proofs I got for atmospheric, not that I can do them all right now, but they are mind-blowing. They make you like, wow. It's pretty undeniable. And I got quite an overwhelming amount of evidence now to prove that this happened. And how truly robbed we have been. It's because, the way life was in the past is nothing like this.
There's not many people looking at what you're looking at.
No, now is bring out your dead bad times, chucking pee out the windows. Like this they painted. That's now.
What's Wiser?
Lovely. Clean and tidy. And I feel that people were not diseased in any way. Everything was organic and fresh. And they knew about basically the benefits of frequency music. By my own way, Karen, I would pump 432 gigahertz music through a hospital ward. Now, why don't they do that when they know it gives you healing properties? I can lay there with the headphones on, let that, and it'll flow through my body. I'm literally feeling every single atom of my body. And it's like,
it is. And I understand that, Martin. I understand that because, and if you've got speakers as well, and you play at a good volume where you can feel it. I mean, feel it in your body, like it's brilliant.
Yeah, man, it is. And I tell you what, afterwards, your thoughts are clearer. You can concentrate better. It's got so many benefits. Appetite, sleeping better. I suggest anybody try frequency music if they can. Honestly, it's definite. I wish I'd have tried it years ago. Honestly, the health benefits too. honestly.
Well, keep learning, keep growing, that's it, isn't it? More and
And
more.
always be positive. Never have these negative thoughts. There's no need for them because all you're doing is punishing yourself for one. And you're asking for it because you're bringing in sort of a parasitical form that will mess with you. Once you drop your body vibration, they got you, right? It's all set against you. You're just going to have to, like, everybody's going to have to think to themselves, okay, they haven't got our best interests at heart. It's all set against you. So what we really need to do is like look after one another, because that's what really needs to go on, because they have not got our best interests. As I said, people need to wake up and not drop their body vibration and get ill. Because that's what they want. They want you in the hospital so they can earn, you know, their couple of billion pilter for their big pharma, and the 500,000 NHS employees obviously need a job. So they want people ill. You have to get ill to keep it all spinning. And how they get you ill is with television, negative intent television, when people are crying constantly on EastEnders and down, down, down. So everyone feels really miserable and they get ill. And then they go to the hospital, and then they keep it all.
Patricia's come off her microphone. Patricia.
Yeah. Hello. I just wanted to say thank you very much, Martin, for coming on tonight. I really love listening to you. And I just wanted to say I love you.
Oh, thank you, Patricia. I love you too. It's so sweet. I don't know. I just
love you, Martin.
Rubbish. I just come and spread the love anyway with the good people.
Love, that's it. That's what we
nice
need to do. Hey, Martin, I had a few questions, right, about you're living in Wales.
Aye.
How many castles did you say that there were?
650, and there's more than that because I know of so many desolate castles up in Caerphilly Mountain here. There's one. It's only say 20 stones high or so. You know, it's not massive high, but it's not on any map, and it's not even recognized as a castle. So there's hundreds of them too. So yeah, 650.
And I was thinking, like, I've been to, Carnarvon and, these Conway and, the decent castles and whatnot, right? Yeah. Which is the oldest, Well,
they all say a lot of them are built by John and the rest, or Edward, the Confessor, and they say, like, they can attribute to Carmarthen or Harlech or these giant fortresses or Caerphilly to that period, okay? Of the 12th or 13th century, but you can't put a date on any one of them. But one thing I can do is they've been something's hit them.
I'm just thinking
Castle's power is over, and the only thing that can make that
so many. Sorry, I'm just thinking so many castles, right? And if they're built within a certain era, how can they build so many so fast? And Wales, how many people live in Wales, man?
Why? And why?
How many people live in Wales?
Right, there's more castles than any other country in the world. They're all in this tiny
technology.
It's incredible, I'm telling you, I've often thought that thought. How did they do it? My mum's in Wales, right? I see these castles. I'm thinking,
how even one of them? Never mind all of them. Just one of them is mind blowing. So
yeah, totally. Yeah, I agree. Totally. I think Carnarvon Castle, is it? Or maybe Conway, one of the two anyway.
Conway's amazing too. They're all
massive, beautiful.
Carnarvon's where Prince Charles had his investiture in '67. Did you ever see that on the telly? I was just born that year, but I've seen, like, obviously on YouTube. And the place is immense. I mean, huge. And just all of them.
Is that because in our minds we've got them with horses and carts and things like that, and then you've got castles? And there's such a big bit missing. How can horses and carts? It would have taken them it would take them hundreds of years.
I don't know how it's done.
Then you go to Scotland, and they have castles in Scotland as well. Big castles. I mean,
different style. Look, it's a bit of a different style in Scotland. They get a bit more like Gothic further south, and then as you get to Scotland, they look more Norwegian. They get rounder and squarer. I've noticed the transition. They're not exactly like Welsh castles. It is a definite different style. But when can I say they're built? Maybe previous set. Maybe they're from the set before.
What do you think of Wise Up then? Because he's saying these buildings these are buildings that have, like, they're melted into the rock basically. What do you think of his stuff?
I absolutely think he's brilliant. I think he's one of the best YouTubers in the world. And I think he's bang on the money. I think when I watch his blog,
in our chat room sometimes,
like a ride. It's like a roller coaster ride. Because what he's concentrating on is pre-flood, and he's giving you the effects of what happens to these materials. you know, like Mudbrick and the rest, and what the real story is outside of Quackademia. And he's right as well. This is what's going on. So he's proving the previous resets at the same time, and he's dispelling Egypt, because on his last post, his last post, he will show you that they are just touched up with plaster and concrete. These Egypt statues are basically fake. The Egypt that's presented to us today is not the culture that really existed there. It's completely fake. It's completely made up, all of it. And what we know of Egypt is made up. I've seen the original hieroglyphics, and I know the original culture. It's like the Phoenicians or the rest of whole of Asia, and they're all worshipping this Isis culture, which they're doing now. The heliocentrics, they're worshipping Isis. It's a satanic cult, and it's still ongoing. We're in the tail end of it, though, I believe. I gotta go. My son needs me. He's going his ear off.
Yay, we love you, Martin. Thank you so much.
Thank you all in the chat. I'll see you all soon. I'm going to come in there and have a chat.
Yeah, thank you, Martin.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Astro. Thanks. Thanks, love. See you soon.
Big hugs, big fat hugs.
Yeah, I'll be here soon. I'll be around anyway. There we are. Arms around abs.
Yay.
Anyway, God bless people.
Thank
Good.
Bye, darling.
Bye.
Right.
Ooh.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. I always like Martin.
Yeah, and he covers so many different aspects to, you know, these old buildings and what's going on, and, you know, I mean, it's just interesting, these old photos that he can find, you know. I love it. Yeah, very interesting. Very. Yeah, and still too many unanswered questions, you know.
Yeah, we'd only just scratched the surface there. We're probably going to end in a minute. We had a really great hangout last night. We enjoyed that one as well, didn't we, Astral and Patricia? With Tommy and Flat Earth Dude. That was also really great. Anyway, we are probably are going to be back tomorrow afternoon with Bling Bling, and I'm not sure, maybe Masterpiece as an extra one over the weekend in the afternoon for an hour or so. But we're back on Monday, and we should be on with Dave Murphy, allegedly Dave, on Monday. Anyway, what a great week. Great time, everybody, and I really enjoyed that. Still lots of question marks, hey?
Too many. But it's
Patricia?
always good.
Just wait to see if Patricia's coming back. Patricia?
Yeah, sorry, just dropped
No. That's a
Just
personal joke, everybody.
just dropped my cigarette on the floor just as you said my name.
Oh,
Yeah, I smoke. I know, terrible at her. Yeah, it's been fantastic. I love Martin. I love his stuff. I mean, and I love everybody in the chat. I've not mentioned everybody's name because I struggle to type a bit. So if I've ignored you, I'm sorry, but I love you all, and I hope you take it easy for the rest of the day, evening, night, morning, whatever.
Oh, bless you, lovely Patricia. Astral?
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, everyone in the chat, and especially Martin Leakey, because it's yeah.
Yeah, yo, Martin Leakey. Oi, oi, oi.
Yeah, oi, oi.
Oi, oi. Anyway, goodbye, everybody. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.